and greetings from Chicagoland. I'm Munira Zahabi, the niche navigator, and welcome to Munira's Musings. I'm your host, podcaster, author, coach, and international speaker. Each week, I bring you insightful conversations with extraordinary individuals who share their unique perspectives and stories. Join me on this captivating journey as we explore new ideas and inspirations. Now, let's dive into today's episode with our special guest.
Greetings from Chicagoland. How are you, everybody? Happy New Year. This is our first episode of Munira's Musings in the new year of 2025. Welcome. Our new guest here, our first guest of the year, is Jimmy Clare. Hi, Jimmy. Welcome to Munira's Musings.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And you all know that we explore the unique stories of our incredible guests. Each episode is designed not only to highlight their journey, but also to uncover valuable insights that we can all learn from. Through their experience, we aim to inspire, educate, and empower you in your own path. And if you like these conversations, go ahead, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And let us help you figure out if entrepreneurship is for you. So, Jimmy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a motivational speaker. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. Keynote speaker / motivational speaker. I'm an autism advocate, author, and the founder of crazyfitnessguide.com. My business is going to be up and running, well, once it hits April 12th this year. I'll be up and running for 8 years. I'm still on the fence on whether I'm totally insane or I'm just crazy and passionate about what I'm doing. The verdict is still out on that.
Every entrepreneur's dream. That's a question that every entrepreneur asks themselves. So I'm glad that you are one of us.
I think I might be in the top 1%.
Well, we'll have to figure that out. But so what did you do before you became a motivational and keynote speaker?
Well, before that, I did a lot of different odd jobs. And before I did a lot of odd jobs, I was told I would never amount to anything because I'm on the autism spectrum. I was told I wouldn't be able to cook, clean, feed for myself, wouldn't be able to support myself, wouldn't be able to do any of that kind of stuff. Well, my parents could have just caved in, listened to the data, and you know how accurate data is. Wink, wink. Look at how science and weather goes together. They could be wrong 95% of the time, and yet we still listen to data. No offense, anyone. But so basically, my parents could have easily just listened to everybody and listened to all the naysayers, but they decided to get me because I wasn't reaching my milestones. They got me physical therapy, occupational therapy, you name it, I probably had it. And so fast forward, I went through 8 years of bullying, and I was in a dark place for many years, even though sometimes I was fine on the outside. I was really emotional on the inside, and I would say I was kind of emotionally scarred. But then fast forward a little bit more, I overcame bullying by me and my dad found this workout program on TV called P90X, and it's a 90-day workout program from Beachbody. I did it twice around, lost 30 pounds, but before I did the second time around, I by the halfway point, I stood up to the bullies, and because they were picking on me and my friends at the same exact time. It was first me, but then they decided to branch off, and let's just say me and my school district did not always see eye to eye, and it took them forever to finally to expel one of the bullies, and like it took it that long. Holy crap. And it's funny, ironically enough, my school district always said I was slow on the uptake, and it's like, are you sure we're talking about me here? Interesting enough is how that works. worked out in the long run because they said I was a slow learner, and yet somehow magically they were in the same shoes as I am.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's always good. It's always easy to label somebody when and we never see our backs. So go ahead.
Yeah, so it's just like, so I remember after finishing all my stuff in public school, I said I was never going to go to college. That lasted for 3 years, doing different odd jobs and whatnot. And then I got tired of doing all these odd jobs and I'm going to say this, not being blunt or whatnot. I know college is not for everyone. And there's some days I feel like, oh, why did I bother joining and enrolling? But I'm glad that I did because it's pushing me outside my comfort zone. And I'm grateful to be able to go to college because there's a lot of people on the autism spectrum who don't because their college does not provide adequate support. They have some stuff and they all blame it on yellow tape and red tape, whatever you want to call it. And that's why I decided to become an autism advocate. And because it got me frustrated because, like, we are people on the autism spectrum, whether they can speak or not speak, are still intelligent in some way, shape, or form. And yet, in college it says, like, we're here to support everyone. And it's like, well, if that's the case, you would find a way around this red tape and how to advocate for the right stuff. And it's like, well, it's set in stone by our leaders. It's like, well, our leaders don't even have a brain. So there we go. And I don't care which party, whatever.
So how are you, okay, so you've lived with this autism spectrum for a while and you've been bullied as well. So right now, when you talk about it, what are you advocating for?
Well, my first thing I'm advocating for is that I would say doctors and also health insurers and whatnot need to, doctors on the most part are pretty well adverse in autism, but then there's the health insurance and my doctor said this once, and I quote, insurance really wants you to either be fully healthy or dead. And so I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna fly. That reminds me too much of special education, of trying to put a square peg into a round hole. It clearly does not work. So I'm advocating for that the health insurance needs to be more friendly to those with and without extra challenges, especially ones with mental health issues, because we're in a mental health epidemic. So it's like, okay, wake up people, and all they keep on thinking about is like, they kind of set the tone for everything and set the rules, and it's like, who set these rules? Why can't they change them? And no one asks these questions. And when I ask them, they all get pissy.
No, I get it. And it sometimes is very hard to find a knowledgeable person in that industry. But let me ask you another question, is that so far, what have you done with your advocacy?
So I advocate in many different ways. I post on social media. I talk on my podcast. Even if the podcast episode is not all about advocacy, I might slip some stuff in the interview, as long as it also meshes with the conversation and how it's flowing. But I like to weave it in and out of different material and different ways of talking about it. There's times where I've written articles. I'm actually stepping back some of my articles on my website just because, well, let's just say, since I'm more passionate about speaking and using my voice, and it's like, let's go focus on that route for a little bit, and maybe I'll come back to the articles just because it gets boring.
All right, so let's talk about you speaking, right? How did that journey start? When did that start, and how long have you been doing it? And what is your core message?
So I started speaking at the height of the pandemic. So near the end of 2019, and even though that everything went online, my college professor, who happened to be one of my mentors, she told me, it's like, Jimmy, the only way to get your message out there right now, because no one's doing any events and whatnot, either in person or online, or they're still figuring out stuff, is like, start your own podcast. So I was like, I looked at her like my dogs look at me like I have 6 heads. I'm like, really? You want me to start a podcast? Are you crazy? Well, surely enough, I'm grateful that she pushed me to do a podcast, because as the last few years, even though I got some speaking engagements here and there, there's a few people who started to reach out to me and say, hey, I'm looking for speakers. You want to be a speaker for my upcoming event? It's like, yes. And it's like, gee, I'm surprised it took people that long to figure this out. Well, it's kind of my fault for kind of, let's just say my brain does not always put the pieces together sometimes. So my core message for my speaking is I'm helping motivate people to live healthier lifestyles with people on the autism spectrum and other extra challenges, but also to embrace their unique gifts and challenges. And I know it's easier said than done, because there was a time and a point where I hated being on the autism spectrum and I wanted to be like everyone else. But if I was like everyone else, my website and my brand wouldn't be unique. And I'm a unique person.
So everybody is unique in their own way. You just have to figure it out, right? And you figured it out that you were unique. So what has been your biggest challenge?
Let's see, my biggest challenge, I say sometimes my biggest challenge, and I'll be honest, because, well, honest is the best policy, is making consistent money. I have stuff set up and more yesterday than I did over the years, I admit that, but it's not consistent enough. It's diversified, and my goal, my dream goal would be getting paid to speak at events and even getting people to buy merch and whatnot from the events afterwards. That would be my biggest goal, but it's just the consistency of money. But I found other stuff I'm looking for the right word. Supplement. That's what I'm going to use. But yeah, that's I would say this what I most struggle with sometimes, and sometimes I'm more impatient than not about it, but it is what it is. But I do have to admit though, last year I was able to afford a new laptop for my business, even though I have a Chromebook sitting right next to me. Let's just be honest, no offense Google, but holy crap, I cannot podcast it on this damn thing at all. I mean, it's so damn, even with an i3 processor, it's just bad.
Okay, so you got a new product. That's amazing. So that's an awesome step ahead. So what are your goals for 2025?
Ooh. So few of my goals that I'm building up 2 communities, and you might say I'm totally crazy for doing so, but one kind of goes with my premium podcast, and then the other one is just for my newsletter, but also like fans around my brand and whatnot. And it's like it's a motivational support groups, etc. So building up my newsletter, building up my app downloads. It's a web app. I used to have an Android app, but let us say I'm not a developer, and nor do I want to be. No offense to any developers. Me and coding. When I took my first web design class in college before I went into media studies just because I jumped around 5 different majors. I had to say, coding is like finding, the book, Where's Waldo? Well, that's what coding is to me. I was like, where's the broken piece of code? Oh crap, I can't find Waldo. And of course, my professor at the time, he can just take off his glasses and he's like, there it is. I'm like, where? I don't see it. Can you point it out to me? I'm like, yep, definitely I'm not going into development.
But see, that's not your forte. Your forte is to figure out, to help people with autism. What do you think out there? There's a lot of people with the spectrum. What do you think how do you think you can help them by bringing in your voice? What is the one thing that you want to see that everybody can do?
I would say have a healthier lifestyle. Not to point any fingers, let's just say, I know some of people I know with extra challenges had a really tough time with the pandemic because they usually go to gyms to work out, and I've been looking to motivate people to showcase, hey, yeah, I'm just gonna just show you my room real quick. My bed is literally touching the pole of my bed. So between my desk and my bed pole, I have I'd say maybe 10 feet, maybe 5 feet, give or take, rough estimate. And the reason why I share that is because if the space is like that, and I have not been to a gym in, say, at least before the pandemic. Way before the pandemic. Well, I want to showcase people that just because you're at home and whatnot, I know the pandemic is over, etc. But my point is like, if I can work out in this small space, you can too. You don't need a gym. You don't need all fancy equipment. You might say, how can that be possible? But your body weight has to weigh something, and you have to hold yourself up. So that counts as something. And I know someone might be saying, well, how can we do that for people with wheelchairs or walkers? Exactly my point. And that's where I go into my next advocacy, is that we need more platforms that have people who have extra challenges, physical, mentally, etc., to go in the health and wellness field, or need the trainers to be dispersed into that, because there's only one platform I have seen, and not that I'm getting paid to say this, but I just use the platform myself. So it's the company is Fit On, and they do have somebody in a wheelchair working out. Obviously upper body. I think he's had something with lower body before, but like I said, it's a start. But there also needs to. I like to see other platforms. I would also like to see many other ways, because we can all work out. We all need to stay healthy, and a lot of it just. And I'm not saying get a beach body figure. No, I'm just saying eat healthier, live healthier. Not saying become a model. Not saying any of that. I'm just saying be at a healthy weight, be at a healthy nutrition, whatever that looks. Because at the end of the day, you are what you eat. And I know that because let's just say near the end of last year, I found out a health struggle of mine that caused a huge, kind of big depression on me. And I would say, and just an FYI, I was not self-diagnosing myself. I log my food every single day on my phone, just for karate purposes and whatnot, to make sure I eat enough calories and whatnot. And I happen to be deficient in magnesium, which actually causes depression, irritability, fatigue, etc. And so when I hit, I wouldn't say rock bottom, but it is, my brain blew everything out of proportion. And so ironically enough, I was like, okay, at least I have a appointment with my doctor for next week to figure out how to get boosted up to. I'm out of depression now, but I was like, well, obviously that happened in low in urine magnesium because obviously it was a buildup. So it was just something I've been trying to figure it out. So.
Well, at least you know. Lots of people don't know. Now, Jimmy, where do people find you?
Where do people? That's a good question, because I think the question should be is where people can't find me, and I'm literally all over the place. Between me and Crazy Fitness Guy, and before you're wondering why it's separately, is I didn't want the brand to be about Jimmy Clare. I didn't want it to be just about me. Yeah, there is some things that I loop in, like my podcasts, articles. There's a few things about me, but it wasn't my main topic, because it'd be like, who the hell is Jimmy Clare? No one cares about Jimmy Clare. I mean, that's not true, but my point is that I didn't want to be jimmyclare.com. That sounds boring. So, so you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, or X. What a crappy name. And Instagram, I'm a Jimmy Clare Speaker on Facebook and Instagram, and Jimmy Clare Speak on X, or whatever you want to call it. And then Crazy Fitness Guy, literally just one word, at Crazy Fitness Guy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's 100 plus other platforms in total. And I mean, literally just Google me. I'm everywhere.
Okay.
It's kind of creepy too.
Okay. So one more last question is there anything that I should have asked you that I have not?
No, nothing comes to mind.
All right. So ladies and gentlemen, now you've heard from Jimmy Clare, who is the Crazy Fitness Guy, and he is passionate about eating right and figuring out what is deficient in your body. Not only that, he's also an advocate for autism spectrums, and he's out there making the waves in the world. So what I have to ask the listeners here, what are you passionate about? What can you make waves about? And the one thing that I can tell you is that take that passion and put it to your heart. And if it and if it works for you, and if you're really not sure if it works for you, then all you have to do is just not deal with it for a few days. And if it pulls your heartstrings back to you, then you know you're in the right spectrum. And go ahead and find your niche that way, because you never know what your belief can do for the world, just like Jimmy is doing. So until we come back next week with another guest, I'm going to ask you to share, like, and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next week, everybody. Have a good day. Have a good week. I'll see you then. Bye, Jimmy.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of The Niche Navigator. We hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as we did. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. Your support really helps us keep bringing you amazing content. For more updates and behind-the-scenes glimpses, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and all our other social platforms. The links are in the description below. We'd love to hear your thoughts and connect with you there. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next week.